Good evening and welcome to the Arlington Community Media, Inc. 2001 Annual General Meeting. My name is John Leone. I'm the president of ACMi. And with us tonight, we also have our board members, Phil Privatera, Michael Ruderman, our treasurer, Nancy Flynn Fabric, our clerk, Brianna Ash, and we're also joined by Norm McLeod, our executive director, and all of our staff members. This evening, I'd like to, right off the bat, let everyone know that we have re-elected the board for another term of 1 year, as provided for in our bylaws. And I'm also going to review the treasurer report, as our treasurer is not able to make it with us tonight. We have had our books audited by a new auditor this year, a firm of Borgatti and Harrison, who have, in their opinion, stated that the financial statements in all material aspects and that the financial position of Arlington Community Media, Inc., as of June 30th, 2021, and the change is that the net assets, its cash flow and function and expenses for the year that ended in accordance with accounting principles is generally accepted by the US of A. In other words, we made it again. We successfully got through one more year as an organization, as a corporation, and now I'm going to throw it over to Norm in order to really put this show on the road. Thank you, Norm.
Unmuted. Okay, here we go. Last year, boy, that was a challenge. The last 2 years was a challenge for everybody as the world turned upside down. But despite all the restrictions of COVID, ACMi, we found, has actually increased coverage of town events like meetings, sports, and news in general. Most of the coverage obviously was virtual. And as the year progressed, ACMi technology and ACMi understanding of technology became the go-to place for assistance and instruction on that new virtual technology. Ironically, more people became aware of the value of ACMi and more people participated due to the ease of virtual connection. Plus, our website views increased to almost 2.5 million views. Excellent, up from last year. And we know that life is change, and a lot of changes happening at ACMi. After 9 years, we closed Studio B on Mass Ave. I was very sad to see that happen. But we moved into an older section of Arlington High School. Then that has actually been functioning since September of this year. We are teaching, we are doing workshops, and unfortunately, we have to plan to move again because they're going to tear that section down. But we are going to be moving into a new section of the high school in February. Unfortunately, the spacing is a little bit smaller than what we originally had. Nevertheless, we'll make the best of everything that the high school is offering us. And we did lose some staff, but we also gained some as well. News director Jeff Barnd left for the wilds of Mississippi, and after only a year, quickly returned to ACMi this past August. In the interim, James Milan and senior news producer Anim Osmani ran the ACMi news operation very smoothly and most successfully. On some sad notes, Sarah Alfaro Franco, our former news director and public affairs producer extraordinaire, moved on to work at Harvard in the fall of 2020. Sarah had been with ACMi since 2007, a long time. And in the fall of 2021, Kevin Wetmore, our youth studio manager, who had been with us for 6 years, went on to teach video production at Lowell High School. However, most recently, we hired Jasper Hamilton, a very talented young filmmaker, to take over that position. Meanwhile, Anim Osmani, our previously mentioned senior news producer, became full-time, and as our field production coordinator, he is handling sports coverage, social media, as well as news. A truly multi-talented individual. Last May, we also hired Jason Audette, who had 10 years of experience in the commercial video world and is now our engineering and production coordinator. On the political front, the new chairperson of the FCC is now a Democrat. And there is hope that the FCC will revalidate, 1, network neutrality, and 2, stop the cable companies from trying to charge back to the town and to community stations, including ACMi, various fees for services that were originally free as part of their first contracts with the town. We'll see how all that shakes out, but we're hoping for the best. Well, that's a very fast, brief overview of what ACMi has been going through in the last year. We do hope everybody has been healthy and remains healthy through the upcoming year. We'll see how everything shakes out. So with that overview, I'd like to ask each of our staff members to give you highlights of their activities and successes this past year. So first up is Jeff Monroe, ACMi Operations Manager. Jeff, you're muted.
What a rookie mistake. So hello, everybody, and it's so good to be here and know that we've come through another year with ACMi, our members, our board members, and it's been an exciting year. It's been an interesting year, and it's been I write this in the report, but a year of returns, because it was exciting to return to our space, return to each other, and kind of get back to where we all belong, right? So I wrote it like this in my notes. It was return to the studio and wearing masks, and then there were vaccines, and then there were no masks, and then there were variants, but we rolled with the punches. I think that's one thing that ACMi is very good at, is adapting, and we're always up to the challenge to create new and exciting solutions to everyday problems. So we have obviously allowed for members to produce from home. We have interesting solutions like StreamYard. We have a unique opportunity today because we're networking Zoom together with StreamYard, and there's a lot of magic happening behind the curtain here. So many thanks to Katie and to Jason Audette, our new engineer, who's working diligently behind the scenes, making this all happen. So these types of creative solutions are things that we've been doing all year. So organizations, town agencies, they have leaned on us. They found that ACMi was creating opportunities for people to communicate and effectively and productively at home. So they were leaning on us, and we were sharing what we had learned throughout our struggles getting online. So we've perfected a lot of the let's just do it from home opportunities that luckily we were able to invest in prior to us having to work from home. So we did have a lot of network solutions in place that allowed us to grow our operations outside of being at 85 Park Ave. Norm mentioned the loss of our Mass Ave location, Studio B. So there was a lot of mourning the location that we spent so much productive time in. And then it was, we need to move the equipment out, we need to move people around, and we need to allow for these students and young people to still be able to create, cover games. Kevin Wetmore was amazing this past year, trying to allow for all of the high school and young people that wanted to create, and gave them that platform, whether it was through film festivals or the birth of UView, which is a creative program that's still going strong today. So the disassembly of Studio B was quite a process. 2021 I think that will be the biggest thing in my head of things that we needed to do, is move Studio B, get it up and running. Even though it was going to be for a short time, we wanted to take advantage of the opportunity that the high school gave us, and I think that's worked out really well. So we faced challenges, we had creative solutions, and troubleshooting and engineering, we've learned a lot in 2021. So that's my big takeaway. I like using this opportunity every year to have a little bit of a show and tell. So at this point, there are virtual machines that Jason is currently using right now in the control room at Studio B that are hooked up directly into our switcher. So that type of hybrid process, luckily, it's something that Jason is familiar with and was easily adapting our space to accommodate produce from home opportunities. So we've been doing a lot of that through community conversations, and I'm sure Katie is going to rattle off a whole bunch of other things that we've been able to do. And through StreamYard, obviously, this great this solution that we're using tonight. Those things, the virtual machines, the portable equipment, some smaller camcorders, mobile production centers or switchers, those are the types of things that we've invested in this year. And unfortunately, I'm home, so I can't show you now, but it's always exciting to share some of those new equipment purchases that we've had throughout the year. One of the highlights, I will talk about the Sumo 19 that is in our control room, and then we have one that's portable, and it's a monitor, it is a switcher, it is a quality control monitor with scopes, and it's an exciting piece of production equipment that we now have available. I believe it was used recently this week for a holiday concert. So things like that are things that we're continuing to grow. We're continuing to build in our arsenal of production equipment available to the community and offer workshops. I want to talk about the fact that we had a 6-week filmmaking workshop this summer that was extremely successful. Marco Franzoni was an amazing professional filmmaker, was able to come in and give a lot of great tips and tricks and foundation to filmmaking. That workshop went really well. But we've continued, even though we're masked and having to work under the restrictions. I feel that we've been very productive. It's been an amazing year. So in addition to ACMi accommodating and adapting, we've created solutions for town hall. For the selectmen's room now has a hybrid meeting space that we had up and running and testing, and they're ready to allow them to step back into a hybrid meeting space prior to going full live in their selectmen's room. We'll probably have a hybrid moment where we'll be doing both live and hybrid opportunities in the future. We're also offered a lot of resources to local churches. So we've become, kind of the go-to folks to help them through some of these solutions. So again, 2021 was a struggling year. 2020, the second half of 2021, we're excited to share some of our new organizational pieces for the operation, which will be using Isaac, and that is a membership database and equipment database. So hopefully that is going to bring us up to the new standards of operations with a community media center. We are going to be using our edit server at Studio B, and that's something that we haven't been doing, and we're starting to get that stuff up and running. So I'm going to basically save some of these highlights for the other staff members, and thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. I am going to pass it back to Norm. Take it away, Norm.
Thanks, Jeff. And you can hear Jeff is on top of everything at ACMi. We often talk about him as being cutting himself in 3 or 4 pieces and going in 3 or 4 different directions at one time. As you can hear, he does very well in each of those 4 areas that he's been cut into. Next up is James Milan, Mr. James Milan. He is the communications manager. He handles the communications, he handles membership, he handles interns, and he is the wordsmith for ACMi. So, James, off you go.
Am I muted or? I cannot tell. Nope. Am I good? Great. Thank you. Yes. Hello, everybody. I am James Milan, and I'm going to be speaking in this segment. I'll talk a little bit about the experience in news near the end of tonight's festivities. Um, but for now, I'm going to be speaking about communications and our role in the town. A little bit, just a little bit about membership and then kind of community outreach stuff as well, and a little bit about the interns. So just like Jeff and everybody else here, I wear a lot of different hats, and versatility is the name of the game at ACMI, and we're happy to be able to share that with you guys. I'm going to talk about membership first because it's going to be quick, and that is clearly under the circumstances we are all too entirely aware of. Traffic in and through our studio has, by necessity, been slower and a much more kind of controlled and circumspect than it was before. And so we haven't been able to welcome members to come and hang out as often was the case before. And the number of studio productions and other things like that going on in the studio, the amount of time that the edit suites are chock-a-block full, which used to be just a daily occurrence in a lot of ways. That's been different because we've just needed to limit traffic through the building, limit traffic within specific rooms and sections of the building, et cetera. And so that's had an effect. And, our membership remains strong and loyal, of course. But we just haven't been able to support members in their own productions in the same robust way that we are all used to and can't wait to get back to. So we are holding the line. We have certainly, and I'm sure that Katie will speak to this, been engaged in productions and supporting members in their productions, some of them virtual and some of them indeed in the studio now that we are back in the building. But basically, it's been, it's been a matter of just kind of servicing our members as best we can, certainly providing our equipment and to some degree our facilities, again, as best we can. But we expect that things will return more to normal on that front in coming months and years. We certainly hope so. In the area, though, of community outreach, for instance, or really our role in the community, this is something that I'm very happy to speak to, because one of the clear silver linings for us in what has been a unremitting, clouds of over the last couple of years. One of the few silver linings among those clouds is that ACMI, we ourselves have been made to recognize our importance in the community, and others, very gratifyingly to us, have also come to see kind of the unique contributions that ACMI can make to the community. So some of our traditional communications and community partners have actually, one in particular, and that is the fact that our schedule, our weekly TV schedule that appeared in the Advocate here in town for many years, that has largely ceased to be. The Advocate has become a thinner and thinner publication over time, and simply couldn't find the space to include our schedule. So we have instead been pointing folks who are interested towards the schedule, which is part of the website, of course, and just doing it that way. We don't foresee that that's going to be coming back in the Advocate, so that is a shame. But at the same time, we increased both the connections, the collaborations, and the actual productions that we did in conjunction with other community partners in town. Some of them folks that we have worked with for a long time, for years and years. That's the Council on Aging, for instance, who restarted a very popular television program that they have. the Arlington Center for the Arts, that we help with their open studios, that we always support around the various activities that they are up to, the Arlington International Film Festival. All these names are going to be familiar to you if you are familiar with ACMi's work. But we also, Jeff was alluding to churches who we have increased our collaborations with. The Arlington Human Rights Commission is doing a lot of work around town, and we're helping them with that. There's a monatomy concert series that we've been very happy to be a partner with. So those, again, some of those organizations, longtime partners, others newer ones, all of them though in healthy shape right now, and we expect those to continue as well. On top of that, we are in addition to providing the opportunities for people to get their own messages out or to make others aware of the activities that they're up to, we also want to make the Arlington constituency aware of what's going on. And through our public affairs programming, we have done two things really. One is, really settled in to a groove with our state legislators, and therefore pretty much every quarter for all three of them, we have 2 reps and 1 state senator. They all do legislative updates, kind of bringing us up to date on what is going on in the state house on behalf of Arlington. And so we hear it straight from them and get really the latest scoop. And again, that's about 3 or 4 times a year that we get with each one of them. And that's working out really well. That's been a very popular from what they say, the reps and the state senator, what their offices hear, and what we have heard from the community as well. So that is a lovely thing. The second thing that we did, and really I imagine that those of you who are Arlington residents out there would probably be aware of this, and that is the number of updates that we are getting from various town officials, from the bi-weekly update we get from town, which is called town hall update. Usually that's the town manager, but we also regularly speak to the DEI, that's diversity, equity, and inclusion director. We also speak regularly with the police chief to get an update on what's going on with the APD. And there are more such things in the work. All of these, the result of us having a kind of much closer collaboration with Town Hall and with the Public Information Officer, Joan Roman, here in town. She and I are coordinating every week. We meet and we set up these updates or various other kinds of events, all of which are going out through ACMi's various channels and getting to people all across town who are always going to be interested in at least one, if not more, of the areas that we are covering. I'm going to leave talking about our work with the schools to others for now, but that has also been very, very rich with Kevin, the aforementioned Kevin Wetmore, as Jeff was saying. Fantastic job that he did spearheading collaborations with the athletic department, with the theater department, with various school administrations to be able to do graduations, et cetera, through the pandemic in a way that was, again, it's not the same, but boy, it was pretty, they were really quite successful. So lots of chatter from me, but lots to talk about and lots to be proud of. We really do feel like we are living up to the town's expectations as best we can, and feeling good about the contributions we are making. I'm actually going to wait and talk about the intern program a little bit more when I talk about the news, and I'm sure you're tired of listening to my voice. I am. I'll stop now. Norm?
James. Okay, thanks, James. That was very good. Katie Chang. Katie Chang is up next. She is our production media manager, and then she's going to go swinging into the description of the youth programs that she is working on. So take it away, Katie.
All right. Thank you, Norm. And thank you, Jeff and James, for kind of setting the stage for me, because you guys kind of mentioned some of the things I was going to talk about. As Jeff said, we were mostly virtual this past year with our, kind of return to the studio in May or June, I think, which was really awesome. It was nice to kind of like leave Zoom and StreamYard world and come back to the studio and get my hands like on the cameras again. So that was really awesome. But it was still kind of a tough year. Like we really still utilized, as Jeff mentioned, Zoom, StreamYard, even like our studio control room here for remote productions and whatnot. And I guess I'll start with like the individual members. As James mentioned, it was kind of difficult for our membership base. I don't think we got anyone new, for example. Again, it was a tough year for everyone with COVID, so we didn't really get anyone new individual wise that joined, but we have a lot of loyal members, and we started a couple of fun new things. One of our members, Charlotte Pierce, started a new show called The Watershed Moment that Jeff helped her with. So that's about talking to local watershed groups. We continued Michael Brown's show, We Hold These Truths, which initially started 2 years ago in the studio. So he was able to transition from in-studio interviews to StreamYard, and he actually even won an award, which I can mention later. So pretty sparse on like individual members. We did continue our studio nights groups and our producer meetup groups. Both happen weekly online, but again, it was kind of hard to keep like momentum and keep things like fresh and exciting for our individual members. And with our interns, the production interns that I worked with, all still virtual, but they really took it as an opportunity to create some of their own shows and whatnot. So last spring, production intern Ryan started like a storybook children's show. So he did everything. He did voiceover, he animated, and he made little like cartoon stories for children. And then another one of our production interns, Sydney, did a show called Sydney's Media Moment. She was one of our interns from afar in North Carolina. So she, we really took anyone this year that was able to like still be virtual and like make really great content. So there are some really great interns last year that were able to still keep up with the whole virtual thing. So another thing that James mentioned was our community partners. So it seemed like this past year or two, our collaborations with our community partners like really grew. So all these individual organizations that maybe didn't have the time for us or like didn't really need us, like all of a sudden really relied on us over this past year for help to film, to stream events, just even for just like general help for using Zoom. So I'll name off some of the groups. So even like the library would share content with us. The Friends of the Robbins Library had a spring concert series. So they had concerts once a month last spring, and they really relied on us to help edit together and stream those live for their members. And then the other big one was Arlington Community Education relied on us for two of their big, I think they were like panel discussions, and we utilized StreamYard for that. And they learned all StreamYard and figured it out. And it was really great to work with them. But again, these are groups that we interact with normally, but it seemed like it was a lot more where they really needed and relied on us. So there's many more in that list. And then as James mentioned, of course, he actually built a really strong relationship with the town, with Joan Roman, and started doing these town updates with Adam Chaplin and a whole bunch of other awesome people in town. So that was another kind of new thing that started this past year, I think. And then of course, supporting the town with some of their other productions like community conversations and other virtual town forums that would normally be in town hall. We were able to help stream live for people. So I'm almost on the other couple of big projects that happened with the election this past year. The League of Women Voters, they normally hold a candidates night in town hall. So we collaborated with them to help them produce their candidates night, and all the candidates, we used StreamYard, and it was a really great success. The other new collaboration that happened was with Jeff Chungalo, who's director of Veteran Services, and he organized all these veteran interviews with veterans, local veterans. And so we got to film some really powerful interviews with veterans in town and their experiences. I learned a lot on that production about the veterans. And then we had a new show called the Arlington 60 Plus Connection that Christine Shaw started. She's the new director for Council on Aging, and that's still going on virtual right now. She came in like once over the summer, but I think they're so busy that they are happy with StreamYard. And you'll see little clips of that. I'm going to play like a 3-minute highlight reel, and you'll kind of see clips of all these little projects I'm talking about. And at the very end of the video, you also see some highlights for the ACM Nor'easter Award winners. So these were ACM is Alliance for Community Media, and this was the regional awards. Michael Brown, for his show We Hold These Truths, won 3rd place in General Talk Show, and then our Studio Nights group also won like an Arts and Theater Awards. So again, this is not just the work of me, it's like the whole ACMI staff, all of our interns, volunteers, and members. This is like a celebration for everyone. So why don't I go ahead and play the video? It runs 3 minutes, 30 seconds, and then I'll be right back.
Anybody as fierce as Gracie, we need a handler for.
Yeah, I definitely like making characters. I like making my art have sort of a personality.
Learning how to edit video is difficult. Buying camera equipment is expensive and costs thousands of dollars. Well, it's as easy as lights, camera, action at ACMi.
Hello, my name is Miranda.
My name is Issa and I'm a productions intern here at ACMi.
Hi, I'm Sophia Titus. I'm a new ACMi news intern.
My name is Toby Barrett. I'm from Andover, Massachusetts, and I'm a news intern.
Hi, my name is Jessica Umanoff. I'm 20 years old and I'm going to be a junior at Brandeis University in Waltham, Massachusetts.
Hi, my name is Helen and I'm one of the news interns here at ACMi. I'm originally from Plymouth, Massachusetts, but now I go to school in Boston.
For asking, how are you?
Hello, Alden Fox.
Try this delicious shrimp.
Woo-hoo.
I would take a no. It would be good.
In the core leadership.
Younger of sorts.
You're a lot younger.
The vote's a family. Can you just say what that means?
I don't have anything to say until I listen first.
Mooring team, step away. Gatekeeper. Joffrey, raise the gate.
I gather my thoughts and they're faded underneath the glass I'm caving. Who thought a ceiling could be so low?
And I'm back. So there you have it. There's a lot missing, but that was, just some of the highlights. And again, that was the work of the whole ACMi family, right? So thanks everyone for making that happen. And, it was a lot of fun this past year, and we're all looking forward to the next year with all the changes in employees and stuff here. And now we're reopened. It's been, come back next year and see the new video. I guess I'll go ahead and move right on to youth. So Nora mentioned Kevin Wetmore. I think he left for Lowell in September, perhaps, maybe October. So I'll do my best to do this justice for all the work he did this past year. And we do have someone starting tomorrow, actually, to take his place. So being, again, mostly virtual last year, I know Kevin was working a lot still with all the youth groups via Zoom. So groups like the Nosebleeds podcast, which I believe ended in June when Nick graduated, helping them with their podcast. Focus Media, and of course UView was new last summer. So they were able to do stuff in the fields, of course, when it was warmer. So he was still interacting with all those youth groups. I believe Audison Media Group was on hold until we just restarted September in person. So he still worked with all those individual youth groups and individual students that wanted to learn editing, especially last year. And kind of similar to what I was doing, I found myself working with more of larger organizations in town. I think the school and the administration really started to rely on him more last year for helping to film and edit and stream live events. So all the musicals, concerts and stuff, a lot of that, people would be like, oh, this has to be live on air. Can you upload the videos? So a lot of that, I think the school really relied on us on. And of course, before that, he worked a lot with the principal doing daily announcements. But I think that ended last year. It's tough to keep the timeline in order. And then, of course, he still continued to do work with individual classrooms. So doing weather forecasts with science classrooms on the green screen, or working a lot with John T. Tommaso on the music tech concerts. Those were still happening last year. The highlight video I have, I'll just rattle off a couple of things. So there's the musical that was, I know he worked a lot on that last year. So the musical last year for the high school was called Amor. And it was pretty much all done virtually. So all the students filmed themselves singing, and then Kevin would sync up all the individual cameras and edit it all. So you'll see a clip of that. And that, I know that was a lot of work editing wise. So the school really relied on him for that. It was the second year that the Arlington's Got Talent fundraiser was virtual. So Sam Derringer kind of led that on with Sagar again last spring. They raised over $2,000 for the Jimmy Fund, and that was live. So Sam was in here in the studio live to a virtual audience. He did great with that. Some other things you're going to see are a clip from the A-Town Teen Film Festival. It happened again virtually for, I believe, the second year in a row. There were many concerts and whatnot had to happen virtually. You just saw some Jurassic Park clips from my highlight reel. So that was a crowdsourcing project that Brookline organizes. So Kevin did a scene as well with his youth group for Jurassic Park. And what else? The Hometown Media Awards. So 2 of his students won Hometown Media Awards last year, which is a national award and honors, the best of in community media. So Daniel Gormanoff won for his piece Students Reflect, and Sam Derringer won for his UView promo. So you'll see clips of that at the end. I guess I'll go ahead and run it. I'm sure there's a lot more I'm missing, but we'll take it away. Be right back.
Live from ACMI Studio A, it's Arlington's Got Talent!
Come on, sit down, everyone. Sit down. Donald, sit down, sit down. Here he comes. Here I come. Hello. Say hello, say hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, John. Hello, John. Hello, John.
And there you have it, a year and 2 minutes and 53 seconds. I know that Kevin really enjoyed his time here, and he still thinks about ACMI a lot, and he this is everyone, all the students. So good job, everyone, on this past year. If any students are watching, maybe. And I'll bring Norm back.
Hey, Katie, thanks very much. And I think we all feel we miss Kevin. We wish him the best of luck, whatever his life is like at Lowell High School.
Yep.
Okay, let's move on. We'll go to Aneem Osmani. He is, again, I mentioned this earlier, he's our field production coordinator. And there he is. And so take it away, Aneem.
Thank you, Norm. And as you said, I am the field production coordinator, and what that means is still pending. But I am having a lot of fun wearing a lot of different hats and meeting organizational needs. But I like to talk about my time as a senior news producer, the position I held during the fiscal year this AGM is covering, and then I'll also fill in for the sports operations. The following video I like to cue will explain exactly what we've been up to. I was hired at ACMi as a part-timer in August 2020 to help create content for the news. Although at the time, ACMi, as well as other businesses and organizations, were under strict COVID regulations, we were able to expand the internship program and reopen the studio to an extent in a safe and appropriate manner. The news interns all displayed resilience, flexibility, and just simply pure talent.
Less physical face-to-face interactions, Ava Robotics has stepped in with this teleportation bot to help fill that gap.
And my timing is very good. As you can see, these beautiful leaves changing their colors quite dramatically.
For a year, with the contributions of interns and fellow staff members, ACMi News was able to deliver high-quality content and stories to the community. Interns came and went, contributed a lot to ACMi, learned a lot, and taught me a little something, too.
The other interns and I worked as a group to produce great newscasts, along with the ACMi staff. I got to get hands-on training in positions I didn't think I would do. It eased my mind knowing that everyone is here to work together and learn at their own pace. These people here will help your creativity flow and have content to take home with you.
I want to tell incoming interns that they need to be ready to go out of their comfort zones, to be ready to work hard and fast, and to cherish the time they get to spend here.
During my internship, I learned a lot of valuable lessons about the news-making process and became a much better journalist along the way. My advice for incoming ACMi interns would be to keep your minds open. Everyone here wants to see you become the best journalist you can be. So that means you're going to be outside of your comfort zone every now and again, but that's okay because everyone here wants to help.
I want to tell interns that this is a wonderful experience. Not only will you be creating weekly stories that you can be proud of, but the people here will help you every step of the way. You will leave this internship a better journalist, guaranteed.
Thanks, guys. Jeff Barnes came to ACMi News in August 2021, which freed up some of my time. I was offered the role of running ACMi's high school sports broadcasting program, and I'm always looking for new challenges, so I said, sure. I was happy to pick the ball up from the previous sports producer and run with it. Since then, ACMi Sports produced a remarkable number of multicam productions for a single sports season, and student participation remained consistent throughout the season as well. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the help and support of all my fellow staff members and the dedicated volunteers who participated in many of the productions.
Sports at acmi.tv to learn more about how you can get involved.
Am I back? All right. And a couple of coming out of the video, I'd like to make a couple of comments. In the video, you saw some sound bites from our previous news interns, and that came out of a project called the Intern Exit Project. It's a recap of their time at ACMi, and in that video, every intern almost said very similar and positive things, which really shows the culture we have here at ACMi and how we are able to retain that even through the pandemic. With that kind of feedback, best exemplifies how amazing and valuable our internship program is. Now, switching to sports, Kevin Wetmore set a new standard for ACMi Sports last year by creating a live streaming platform utilizing our resources that allows many families who might have relatives on a sports team or people who simply supports the town's athletics programs watch all the games from home at a time they couldn't. So now we are in the beginning of the winter sports season operations, and I hope to carry the momentum over to all winter sports and retain the production quality that we presented in the fall. ACMi hasn't done a multicam production for hockey in over 10 years and possibly 15, and I'm looking forward to changing that on Wednesday, December 22nd, when the boys hockey team takes on Wilmington High School. There's also a new format I'd like to introduce for basketball, one I hope will provide our community viewers with an appealing new look. You might have a quick preview from last night's doubleheader action when Arlington High School, both boys and girls, took in Lexington High School. And with that being said, I'd like to recognize the Arlington High School's athletics department for their amazing cooperation and the accommodations they've made for me. That will end my presentation here, and I'm going to send it back to Norm.
Thanks, and the multi-talented guy that you are. Okay. Okay, we're going to switch over to Sean Keene, our government access coordinator, who actually is using about 2 or 3 laptops at the same time tonight, covering various meetings, including this one. So, Sean, if you're there, come on in.
Thanks, Norm. Doing a AHS building forum as well as the Housing Authority meeting at the same time. Been a little tricky, but it's working. Sorry, I forgot that once the video plays, it mutes. So as you saw just a little earlier, just a few examples of virtual town meeting. There were quite a few sessions this year, totaling 32 hours. Overall, content for the Gov channel has almost, or has doubled. Last year we had 176 hours, where this year we had 354, all combined meetings. Some of that includes adding new meetings to our rotations, such as the Zoning Board of Appeals, as well as the Housing Authority. And then some of our long-running meetings, such as Select Board and School Committee, going from roughly 2.5 hours to almost 4 and above, typically. There's been quite a bit of things in town that have been under discussion, from zoning to just pandemic response. And as the video continues, just more examples of kind of our statistics of just how much meeting coverage has both increased and just the general length and content discussed. So, and I was mentioning while I was muted, we are, as I'm speaking, we're concurrently doing 2 meetings, three, including the AGM. The Arlington Housing Authority is having their monthly meeting, and the AHS High School is going over their first big forum about the construction that's happening right now. And then, as we are in the video, it was quite a few elections contested this year where everything was entirely virtual for debates and profiles. And that just about covers it, I'd say.
Wow. Sean, we were going to ask you to cover 2 or 3 other meetings tonight, but we decided to just let you handle what you normally handle, which is 3. Good heavens. Congratulations. Wow. Okay. We're going to go back to James Milan. I have him down as talking more about the news director internship, news director that he had stepped in to cover when Jeff Barn had stepped away. Is that what you've got on your agenda, James?
What?
What?
Just kidding. Yeah, no, we are in sync, Norm, as always. Yes, I wanted to talk about that, but I'm going to just start by kind of threading taking up the one thread that I left at the end of the last time I was talking a short while ago, and that's about our interns in general, which completely intertwines with the news narrative that I have to share with you. Our intern program has been here for about 8 years now, I would say, and we have seen about 130 interns come to ACMi over that time. None had, in all that time, was presented with the challenges that each of the interns was over the last year, over the 2020-21 year especially. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is that Jeff was talking a long time ago about all the things that we've learned, and then how we've put what we have learned into practice, and how much we're looking forward to the fruits of that as we move on from here. I think that's a lot what happened with the intern program as well. We learned a whole lot over the first 3 or 4 or 5 years of that internship program. And especially what we learned was that we needed to look for people with a certain kind of attitude and approach, much more than technical experience that they would be coming to ACMi with. We were looking for a kind of character. And one that said they'd have the kind of the resilience and the resourcefulness to take things on in the way that we prefer our instruction and our training to happen. So we are very proud of the fact that we always give our interns an opportunity to get to the work as soon as they can, and to do as much of it as they are up to, and then to take that away with them in reels. And it has been extremely successful approach, yielding. I won't allow myself to say 100% happy interns, but I can't think of the unhappy ones off the bat. So it's been a successful program, but we really needed to bring that to bear on the situation that we faced as Jeff Barnt moved into the in a misbegotten quest for, I don't know, enlightenment of some sort. He went to Mississippi. And of course has thought better of it and has returned. But in the year that he was gone, we basically had to rely on our group of interns to be our news team. Losing Jeff, who had more or less single-handedly produced newscasts over the first months of the pandemic when we were all isolated in our homes, he was able to continue to generate weekly newscasts because of his rich experience as a professional anchor and newsman over 35 years. He really was able to produce stories and then do the anchoring as well from his home. As he left, though, I'm not able to do that. I needed to somebody needed to take the helm in his absence, and obviously hiring a new news director in a pandemic was extremely challenging. So it made sense for the organization for me to step into that role, at least on an interim basis. Well, that interim turned out to be long enough to cover the entire year that he was gone. And there are a couple of reasons why that was true. One of them is to go back to our internship program. We have drawn generally from all the Boston area schools for our interns, from Boston University, from Boston College, Brandeis, but especially from Emerson and from Tufts. And they continue to, there continues to be a very healthy pipeline of students from those schools coming to ACMi and having successful internships. However, one school, local university that we hadn't really tapped into too much is Suffolk University, right in Boston itself. And fortunately, Anim Osmani, the aforementioned most versatile man on earth, came to us through Suffolk University. And he started as a news intern, and his news internship was abruptly canceled, like everything else, in March of 2020. And he feared that we would never see Anim again because, of course, he was to graduate in May of that year. He made quite an impression on all of us, including me. And so when I was thinking about the challenge of running a news program and having mostly interns to be the reporters, I immediately thought of Anim as a great person to kind of be the senior news producer and really the man on the front lines in a lot of ways, both producing his own stories, but also mentoring the other interns. And that basically turned out to be a magic formula. We were able to continue the weekly newscasts, first with students or producing stories from their bedrooms, in their homes, or their dorm rooms, using Zoom, using found footage, et cetera, to put together legitimate packages that sustained the community's interest and provided valuable information on an ongoing weekly basis. Anim has to get the most credit for that. He really was the main supervisor and organizer with me. I was also trying to do the rest of my job at the same time. So he was particularly helpful in terms of setting up the stories for each week, assigning them to the particular reporters, and then being there to provide the necessary support for them as they moved forward. In the end, I think that here's the thing that I perhaps am most proud about, and Anim and I discussed which one of us would get to talk about it, and I'm glad that it's me. And that is the fact that Anim mentioned in his video and in his narrative that the interns came and went. Well, actually, the interns came and stayed. They came for a term, and then they stayed. And they stayed, in some cases, as much as a year. And they were getting certainly no credit academically for that. It was simply that they were having a good enough experience, and that they're made of such stuff, this particular group of interns, that they would stick with this excellent project that we had going. In fact, I can tell you that we only lost 3 interns over the course of the year, and all 3 were for the exact same reason. They got jobs as multimedia reporters at broadcast media stations. So I don't know how else to define success in an internship program or on a news team than by the fact that we trained young people to be able to take on the role of as their roles as professionals, and others agreed and hired them. In a lot of ways, this was not a year in the news of the stories that we covered, although we covered everything of interest from fires in town to all the different events that occur in the annual calendar that are of interest, or obviously hard news stories of things that had just occurred earlier in the week. But we were able to stay on top of that for the whole time, and also to maintain a production quality level that had been established over the last number of years by succeeding news directors here at ACMi. And I think that we can honestly say there wasn't a drop off in the production quality as we moved to basically a non-journalist in charge, and then a bunch of journalism students really taking on the task. So as you can tell, I'm sure, couldn't be prouder of this group and of our achievement, and couldn't be happier to hand the reins back to JB, that being Jeff Barnt, our prodigal news director, who has returned to the fold and of course taken up the reins in a most able and impressive fashion, as is his way. So he will be delivering this speech again, or this narrative again, next year, and I look forward to sitting back and listening to him, and not to me. So I think that will do it for the news, and pretty much for this meeting. But back to you, Norm.
Well, James was talking about being very proud of the interns, and I have to say, with this creative bunch that is at ACMi, I'm very proud of all of them for the work that they do. Oftentimes, I get lost in the paperwork and don't know exactly what they're doing in detail, but even some of the samples that the staff put together to give you folks at home an idea of what we do are just, they're really so well done, so well done. I'm also proud of my boss, John Leone, because he actually had called me Norm McLeod instead of Norm McDonald, which he has done in the years past. So John, you're on.
Hey. Oh, that's a great review for the year, and I want to really thank the staff on behalf of the board. They did a great job coming through the pandemic. They made us look really good for the year. I myself appreciated the help they gave us through the town meeting and helping produce all the videos for everybody and getting that all up and running. We couldn't have done it without you. So with that said, I want to give them a round of applause, even if it's virtual. But if anyone has any questions, we're willing to take them at this time. I'm not sure how the heck that'll work, but I'll leave that up to the magic of Katie. So if there are none, then thank you all very much for coming, and we'll see you next year.